5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. This is Mayor Cyril Jefferson convening a regular meeting of the High Point City Council. Here with me at the dais, we have every member of council present, with Councilmember McKeever on her way. At this time, we'll ask you all to join us for a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prior to convening our meeting, we'll move to adopt our agenda. After taking some time to review, are there any changes that need to be made to our agenda? If not, then we'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion's made by Councilmember Holmes, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Moore. Any discussion on the motion to adopt our agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. At this time, we're going to do a number of proclamations, and I'm excited anytime we get the opportunity to recognize folks in our community who are doing great work, as well as national recognitions around the country. And so first, for this recognition, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Hal Ruth or Hal Ralph? Will you come on forward, Hal? And Hal, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
This is a really special proclamation. I mean, literally, you only get to read this every 250 years. And I don't know that I'll be around for the next one. I don't know if any of us will.
I hadn't been here 250 years either.
What I'd love to do is if there are any other Army veterans, could we please call them up? Would that be okay, Hal? If you're with us here, whether you're on the dais, a member of staff, or a member attending the meeting, and you're an Army veteran, would you please stand up and come forward, please, for this next proclamation? And let's clap for them as they come forward, please.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. So, those of you who have been watching the news, you know that this year is a pretty exciting year. And 250 years that brave men and women of the Army have been serving, protecting, defending our country in ways that many of us don't understand and only few of us understand. And so I'm honored that we get to do this, and I hope you don't mind me calling you all up. It's just, again, I looked at this prior to the meeting, I said, again, you only get to do it so often, and I want to do it right and want to thank you all while you're here with us. Whereas on June 14, 1775, the Second Continental Congress, representing the citizens of 13 American colonies, authorized the establishment of the Continental Army. And whereas the collective expression of the pursuit of personal freedom that caused the authorization and organization of the United States Army led to the adoption of the Declaration of Independence and the codification of the new nation's basic principles and values in the Constitution. And whereas for the past 250 years, the U.S. Army's central mission has been to fight and win the nation's wars. And whereas the motto of "This will defend" is the creed by which the American soldier lives and serves. And whereas no matter what the cause, location, or magnitude of future conflicts, the nation can rely on the U.S. Army to produce well-trained, well-led, and highly motivated soldiers to carry out the missions entrusted to them. And whereas the components of the U.S. Army, to include the Army National Guard, U.S. Army Reserves, and the regular Army, have contributed immensely to health and natural disaster response. And whereas members of the City of High Point have proudly served and made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation's freedom while serving the United States Army and other branches of our nation's military. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim June 14th, 2025 to be the United States Army's 250th birthday, expressing appreciation on behalf of the people of High Point to the United States Army and to the dedicated soldiers who have served in it over the 250 years that it has been in existence. Can we please celebrate this incredible occasion? We're going to take a picture. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. All right. We've got some young folks to recognize. And I got to give credit to Mayor Pro Tem Moore. He shot me a text message really, really early in the morning a few weeks ago, sending me the headline from the newspaper. And I thought it was a really big deal because here at High Point, our folks do big and great things. And that includes a couple of champions, y'all. So y'all bear with us because I want to take some time to recognize these incredible champions. My boys go to High Point Christian Academy, and so when I told them that I was going to have the champion softball team coming up, they wanted to know, Dad, can we take the picture with you? Now, I told them no, not because I'm a mean dad, but because they look way better than me in pictures, and I get enough of that at home. So I'm going to ask, will this incredible team of champions, the High Point Christian Academy Cougar softball team, will you all please come forward, and can we celebrate them as they come forward, please? Whereas the High Point Christian Academy Cougars softball team has displayed exceptional athleticism, determination, and sportsmanship throughout the 2024-2025 season. And whereas the top-seeded Cougars secured their fourth consecutive North Carolina Independent Schools Athletic Association Division II softball championship by sweeping a best-of-3 series against Freedom Christian Academy, a fellow 2023 NCISAA champion. Whereas the Cougars defeated Freedom Christian by a score of 8-3 in Game 1 and followed up with a commanding 12-3 victory in Game 2. Remind me to never play y'all in a softball game. Completing the sweep and finishing their remarkable season with an 18-4 record, and the team is ranked number 4 in the state of North Carolina on Max Preps out of all public and private schools. And whereas this title run represents not only continued success, but a legacy of excellence in softball, marking 4 consecutive NCISAA Division II championships for High Point Christian Academy. And whereas much of this sustained success is a testament to the outstanding leadership of head coach Todd Smith. Is head coach Smith here? Head coach, will you please come on up too, please? I used to be a coach, and I know how hard it is, and the students obviously make all the magic happen, but you're the one working with them and growing them every single day, so we want to make sure to recognize you too. Much of this sustained success is a testament to outstanding leadership of head coach Todd Smith, whose experience, mentorship, and unwavering commitment to excellence have been instrumental in building a championship culture and guiding these young athletes to historic achievement. Whereas Coach Smith is joined in his leadership by assistant coaches Brad Benson and Brian Bowman. Are you all here too? They are? Well, come on up. We got to celebrate you guys too. Come on up. Thank you guys. Assistant coaches Brad Benson and Brian Bowman, whose dedication, support, and guidance have been vital in the development and success of the players both on and off the field. And whereas the team's triumph reflects the tireless effort of the student athletes, the strategic leadership of the coaching staff, and the loyal support of the school community and families, now therefore be it resolved that I, Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, North Carolina, hereby proclaim that the City of High Point honors and celebrates the 2024-2025 High Point Christian Academy Cougar softball team for their extraordinary achievements in winning the 2024-2025 NCISAA Division II softball championship, and encourage all members of our community to join me in celebrating this incredible milestone. Can we please celebrate these young folks? Okay, and I understand the HPCA athletic director is also here. Corey Gassell? Is Corey here as well? Okay, all right. Okay, well, we've got our group. Do you want us to double up in rows? And I'm going to give this to someone up front in the middle. There you go. There you go. Thank you, guys. All right. So we've got champions in softball, got champions in baseball as well. And for this, I'm going to invite up the men of the Wesleyan Christian baseball team. Can we please celebrate them as they come forward? And are you Coach Blakeney? I am not. Okay. Okay, assistant. Coach Blakeney. Man, pleasure to meet you. I've heard incredible things. Pleasure to meet you. All right. Let's do this. Yeah. Whereas the Wesleyan Christian Academy Trojans baseball team has demonstrated exceptional skill, determination, and sportsmanship throughout the 2024-2025 season. And whereas the Trojans have exemplified resilience and championship spirit, overcoming challenges and displaying unwavering perseverance, and whereas the Trojans captured the North Carolina Independent Schools Athletic Association 4A baseball championship, defeating Metro Atlanta Christian Academy in a dramatic come-from-behind walk-off 5-4 victory to complete a sweep of the best-of-3 series. And whereas this victory was particularly meaningful as a rematch of last year's title, where Metro Atlanta Christian emerged victorious over Wesleyan in 3 games. So you guys got your get back, is what you're saying. Okay, I like that. A result that the Trojans avenged this year by defeating the third-seeded Warriors on their home field. And whereas entering the playoffs as the 5th seed with a final season record of 18-11, the Trojans displayed heart, grit, and competitive excellence under pressure throughout their postseason run. And whereas this championship reflects the outstanding leadership and guidance of head coach Maurice Mo Blakeney, now in his 6th season, who has compiled an impressive 95-37 record and a 72% winning percentage, leading the Trojans to 4 NCISAA state championship appearances in the last 5 seasons, with state titles in 2023 and now in 2025. And whereas Coach Blakeney's mentorship and development of student athletes have resulted in 26 players earning baseball scholarships to play at the collegiate level. And whereas the Trojans' achievement is a source of pride for the entire Wesleyan Christian Academy community, serving as a testament to the power of teamwork, perseverance, leadership, and belief. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of the City of High Point, North Carolina, hereby proclaim that the City of High Point honors and celebrates the 2024-2025 Wesleyan Christian Academy Trojans baseball team for their extraordinary achievement in winning the 2024-2025 NCISAA 4A baseball state championship, and call upon all members of our community to join in celebrating this inspiring and hard-earned triumph. Can we please celebrate? And you want us to double up again, Rokia? All right, guys, will y'all help us out by making a few rows? And whoever's going to be up front, I'll hand the proclamation to you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Hey, thank y'all. Thank y'all. Now, as our players head back to their seats, I'm going to take a wild assumption here, but I see some really proud faces in the back. Can I assume that some folks here are parents of either Wesleyan or HBCA players? If you're a parent, can you just wave your hand really quickly so I can see you? Can we clap it up for all the parents? When you are running late from work to get someone to practice and you didn't even get to eat dinner until 9 o'clock, you wonder if all those late nights are worth it. And clearly it is, because your kids, I mean, they're championship teams representing our city on a state level. And we're so proud of them, and we wish you all the best in your continued matriculation through school, on to college, and forever in life. So thank you all so much. Thank you. All right. At this time, we'll transition to our public comment period and invite folks who have signed up to speak for public comment to come forward when your name is called. As a reminder, if you signed up to speak, you'll have 3 minutes to speak on any topic of your choosing. We ask that you address council. We also ask that when you come to the podium that you'll let us know your name, let us know the reason why you are here, as well as your address for the record. So with that said, I'll start with those who are listed for public comment period. And if you didn't put your name down under public comment period, you can still choose to speak as well. First name listed is Michael Callum.
Can you hear me all right? All right. My name is Michael Kellum, address 2034 Ladora Drive. Here to speak on behalf of the fire department staffing and training needs. I wrote it down, that way I don't get off topic, so if I'm reading. All right. In response to Chief Evans of the High Point Fire Department statement on May 8th during the Prosperity, Livability, and Safety Committee meeting at minute 1945, stating, "We are not having any staffing issues and are currently +3 on staffing and no vacancies." How come 3 weeks later, one of the stations that would be on the first alarm to a working fire should it occur at my house be unstaffed? The closure of a station does not seem to indicate that y'all are doing great on staffing, and this statement leads me to believe that the chief is either out of touch with what the citizens and his firefighters truly deserve, or he just doesn't want to ruffle any feathers by asking for the help. Asking for help is better than saying that you don't currently have any issues. At least then your employees know that you are attempting to look out for their best interest. If you won't fight for them, who will? You're not truly doing that great. Your engines and trucks are short-staffed, causing issues to the safety of your personnel, and a delay in service to the citizens you protect. Every apparatus should have 4 on it, especially your specialized trucks that are tasked with further labor-intensive roles such as hazardous materials, search, and technical rescue. As a citizen of High Point, I find it alarming that you're only riding 3 on each apparatus, 2 on some of them. My family and every other family in High Point deserves the best possible chance in the event of an emergency, and you're handcuffing your personnel before they even get on the rig. With High Point being an ISO 1 department, I'm sure they are familiar with NFPA 1710 and their recommendations on minimum staffing being 4 on engines and ladders. Having a truck that requires 2 drivers should have a minimum of 4, but 5 should be the target. With the current staffing model, your employees are going to be more prone to experience low morale, burnout, injury, and high employee turnover, further costing the city more money than actually benefiting them. Having to retrain people every other year to fill vacancies is not only detrimental to the city, but also the citizens. When someone leaves, they can be replaced, but their experience goes with them and doesn't get passed on to future firefighters and officers. The chief mentioned 23 new employees hitting the line this year, but these members are brand new to the city. They have the basic set of skills that must be honed and mentored, and they must be allowed to venture outside the city of High Point to gain further knowledge and perspective. It's a shame that firefighters are not afforded the same outside training opportunities that the police department is. While the city may be for training, they have an odd way of showing it by forcing the employees to either take their own time or trade out time to attend classes outside of the city of High Point. It's a shame that even one city over, there's an excellent course that is a week long, put on 2 times a year, and dedicated to teaching best practices for truck company operations by one of High Point's own, and the presence of High Point is negligible. It has to be discouraging for the men and women of the department to know about this, but cannot attend because it's not within the city limits.
Mr. Callum, thank you so much. That was our 3-minute timer, but we
All right.
appreciate you.
Thank y'all,
Your
sir.
comments are noted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And feel free, Mr. Callum, if you've got a statement that's written that you didn't get to finish, you can feel free to leave it with our clerk here. And what she'll do is make sure that everyone on council gets a copy of that. Yes, sir. Thank you for taking your time. Yes, sir. Thank you. Next on our list is Mr. Scott Stanley.
Good evening, Mayor Jefferson, Mayor Pro Tem Moore, and members of council. My name is, stated earlier, Scott Stanley. I live at 4035 Waterview Road in High Point. I proudly served the citizens of High Point for 24 years as a firefighter. For me, it was never a job. It was more of a calling, something I really enjoyed doing. Last year, I left the department to pursue another career. That was part of my reason for leaving, but also because I saw a culture that wasn't changing, and I didn't see a future here, so I left for somewhere else. For the last decade of my career, the department operated in a climate of fear and intimidation. Those who challenged the status quo were punished, and I know it because I lived it. When I raised concerns about dive team safety and stood up for myself after being publicly demeaned by the former fire chief during COVID, HR did nothing to support me, and instead I was transferred across shifts into a slow station in the city and buried, and I stayed there for a couple of years. That culture still persists today, and I know it because I've talked to people that work here. Recently, critical units, including the heavy rescue truck, air resource unit, and rural water tanker, were taken out of service. The public explanation was routine staffing adjustments. The truth, we didn't have enough people working that day to cover the shift properly. That left neighborhoods, including my own, vulnerable. That violated both a written agreement and the department's mission to keep our citizens safe. In typical High Point fashion, nothing catastrophic happened this time. But when the media took notice, Chief Evans suspended training and shuffled crews to give the illusion that all was well. That's not leadership, that's damage control. What's worse, during the May 8th Prosperity, Livability, and Safety Committee meeting, as you heard earlier, Chief Evans mentioned that the department was +3 on staffing. How can that be true when we're supposed to follow NFPA 1710 that requires a minimum of 4 people on truck each day? We're operating every day below minimum staffing. That math doesn't add up to me. Tonight, I urge you to vote against the current budget proposal. It underfunds staffing, ignores severe pay compression, shortage training, and rewards mediocrity at a time when excellence is required. If we truly want to be the city, if High Point truly wants to be the single most livable, safe, and prosperous community in America, then we must fully fund the fire department, not just so it can get by, but so it can lead. Fire is not hypothetical. We witnessed this on Barbie Avenue earlier this year when 2 citizens died and firefighters were put in impossible conditions. I served alongside those firefighters. I stand here today and can promise you that they will come after you when there's a fire. They will show up, and they will work their hardest to save your life, your family's life, and your property, no matter what the risk is. The real question is what we're willing to do in return for that. So let me close with 2 questions. What are you going to do as City Council to eliminate this staffing crisis we're in? What are you going to do to retain and properly compensate the dedicated firefighters who protect this city every day? We can't afford to lose another one. So let's meet their sacrifice with resources, respect, and the leadership they deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And feel free, if you want to leave that statement as well, then you can also leave that with the clerk. And if anyone else has statements via email, you can always send that in to the clerk. She makes sure that everyone on council gets it. Next on our list is Mr. Ken Orms.
Good evening. My name is Ken Orms. North Carolina Law 143-318.10 requires, quote, "Every public body shall keep full and accurate minutes of all official meetings," unquote. The council violated the law because their minutes do not include a single word about what citizens said during public comments. The law does allow for audio recording, but since there is no link to YouTube or any mention of YouTube in the minutes, the city is breaking the law, especially since taxpayers have to hunt and peck to find the proverbial needle in the haystack on YouTube. I first contacted the city clerk after my comments to the council in January were edited. I was particularly concerned because I gave the clerk a printed copy of my comments, including that I wanted the entirety of my comments to be part of the official minutes. In an email to the clerk, I pointed out 7 specific instances where comments made by the other taxpayers were also edited. The clerk said the council told her it was okay to insert her own impression of what she thinks was important in comments made by taxpayers, but the law does not allow that. I submitted a public request asking what specific law allows the clerk to summarize citizens' comments. I also sent a letter to every member of the council asking how a taxpayer could ask a question during a committee meeting. Councilman Holmes responded saying taxpayers are not allowed to ask questions during committee meetings, but can submit questions to the clerk. He said, quote, "Typically the clerk's office does not receive questions for meetings," unquote. I also asked how a taxpayer could ask a question if they are not allowed to speak during a committee meeting and the clerk's office doesn't send questions to the committee members before, during, or after committee meetings or to the council before they vote on recommendations from the committee. Mr. Holmes replied, quote, "You're welcome to voice your comments during the public comment period each month." In other words, citizens and taxpayers can attend committee meetings but must sit quietly in the corner, send questions to the clerk's office that it will not be sent to the committee or the council. Talk about ensuring the council won't hear from taxpayers or answer any questions before making decisions. This is another example of how the city and council hides information and fails to respond to taxpayers. 2 weeks ago, I sent a short email to the city manager asking about the budget. City manager has not answered my question, even though the budget's going to be approved tonight. Finally, as shown on page MM21 of the new budget, the council can use limited obligation bonds that do not require voter approval to build a new city hall on the church property. Several council members say it will cost $130 million. That will put taxpayers further in debt. I'm giving a printed copy of my comments to the clerk so they can be included in the entirety in the minutes and the council of this council meeting, and I also have a copy of my comments for each of you.
Thank you, Mr. Orms. Next on our list is Gerald Leach. Hi, Ms. Leach. If you'll state your name and address for the record and the topic on which
Hi,
you're planning to speak.
my name is Gerald Leach. I stay at 227 Friendly Avenue, and I'm here in reference to the zoning code and the noise code. If I get a little choked up, please forgive me, because I'm carrying a load. I've been carrying a load for about 3 years, and the load is the fact that I thought I was doing something right when I reported my neighbor for working on cars in his yard at his home. And I thought I was right when I called the police when they played loud music. But the problem is still existing, and it's not getting better. It's actually getting worse. And I don't know what to do. And they keep telling me everything is city council, city council. You have to go to city council. So I'm here tonight to ask city council to help me to find peace in my home. I can't even go outside. My neighbor's calling me all kind of names. It's getting very unbearable. So if you can find a minute out of your day to look at the zoning and the noise ordinance again to help me, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Leach, can you just let me know again just because I want to be clear which ward you're in, can you state your address one more time?
I'm sorry.
Can you state your address one more time?
227 Friendly Avenue, High Point, North Carolina.
Where is that?
That's Ward 2? Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Leach, thank you so much, and yeah, staff will follow up with Ms. Leach to make sure that we can check on that, because we absolutely want to look into that.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much, Ms. Leach. All right. Next on our list, Mr. Scott Mullins.
Good evening, Mayor Jefferson, Mayor Pro Tem Moore, City Council. My name is Scott Mullins, and I live at 748 North Fork Road. And I'm honored to serve as the president of the Professional Firefighters and Paramedics of North Carolina. I'm here tonight to discuss a matter of life and death, the safety of your citizens and these firefighters who protect them, through the lens of proper firefighting staffing. Scientific research from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, has made it abundantly clear the number of firefighters on each fire apparatus makes a profound difference in how quickly and safely we can respond to emergencies. In a landmark study, NIST found that four-person firefighting crews can complete 22 essential firefighting and rescue tasks in a typical residential structure 30% faster than two-person crews and 25% faster than three-person crews. That's not just a statistic, it's the difference between life and death for someone trapped inside a burning home. When we respond to a fire or medical call, every second counts. Larger crews are not only able to deploy hoses and rescue victims faster, but they also increase the safety of our firefighters, allowing them to perform their duties without unnecessary risk. Appropriately staffed fire companies are also more effective on cardiac arrest. The NIST studies show that reducing a crew size to just 3 firefighters slows down every single critical task, endangering both the public and those who serve them. We cannot afford to play the odds with public safety. Closing fire stations or consistently running with fewer than 4 firefighters per fire apparatus is a dangerous gamble. The research shows that simply sending more trucks with fewer firefighters does not make up for the difference. It results in lost time and increased risk. We must not allow staffing inefficiencies to dictate station closures, as this only compounds the danger. Instead, I urge you, the City of High Point, to take a proactive approach. Overhiring and stronger recruitment and retention efforts are essential. We must ensure that we always have enough firefighters to respond safely and effectively, not just today, but for years to come. Investing in your fire service is an investment in the safety and well-being of every resident. In closing, the evidence is clear. 4 firefighters per fire apparatus is not just best practice. It's a life-saving standard supported by science. So let's work together to keep the community safe by maintaining proper staffing, supporting your firefighters, and never compromising the safety of High Point citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Templeton.
Hi, my name is Robert Templeton. I live 4403 Belvoir Drive. City Council, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I represent the men and women of the High Point Professional Firefighters Association, the professionals who protect this city every day, often without the necessary resources. Our department is under strain. Staffing is dangerously low, equipment and training are falling behind. And while our firefighters continue to answer the call, we are running on a pattern of luck and prayer. That will eventually run out. If this council doesn't act, we are one incident away from a serious injury or, God forbid, a line of duty death. Let me be clear. Our union demands a minimum of 4 firefighters per apparatus every shift, every station, no exceptions. This isn't negotiation. This is a national standard for safe, effective fire operations. Three-person crews delay response, increase risk, and put lives, both civilian and firefighters, in danger. Our members respond to structure fires, technical rescues, hazmat incidents, and more. Every missing set of hand forces impossible decisions that's not acceptable. This council has a moral and legal responsibility to protect its citizens and its employees. Firefighters are not expendable. They are public servants and with families and deserve to know the city stands behind them. We are insisting on three things: full funding for fire equipment and training, NFPA compliant staffing of 4-person per apparatus, and end of unsafe practices, doing more with less. Now that is not just a labor issue, this is a public safety issue. Now a specific failure on Friday, Station 13 was critically understaffed. Multiple apparatus, including Engine 13, Rescue 1, and Air Resource 1 were taken out of service. This is not isolated, it's a pattern. Our heavy rescue company and air resource truck are routinely the first sacrificed when staffing falls short. And yes, despite previous claims, we do have a staffing crisis. Each of you received a letter tonight requesting a formal investigation by Councilman Tim Andrew and Assistant City Manager Damon Duquesne. We expect a transparent report on the key units that were down and why Truck 7 was pulled to staff Engine 13. This kind of shell game is unacceptable. Additionally, we request that an independent third-party firm conduct an assessment of leadership and management culture within the fire department. We are ready to work with you, but we will not accept anything less than a full commitment. Our union stands united, and we expect this city to stand with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Templeton. Mr. Thibodeau.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Louis Thibodeau. I reside at 1242 Kensington Drive, High Point. Thank you for having this time to speak. I want to once again lift you up, every one of you, in prayer that as you look at your budget, the many decisions, just like we've heard tonight, may be life and death, and it might be yours. No family is out of that mode that it could happen to anyone. A fire happens at any moment. But I want to also say, what I was trying to clarify was that when I met once before, a month ago, talking about incentives for monies that might be left in the department, I know we do give incentives to our workers and we pay them overtime, but what I'm talking about is families being left without their head of house or mom because their department at City of High Point is short and they're having to work more hours. And I'm not talking about a huge sum, but I'm talking about something that we could do for them. You know, I just think there's something we can do with funds that are left, if they're left at that point that year. I'm not talking about every year, but I'm talking about if that's possible. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing, and you're in my prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thibodeau. Is it Robert Nichols Jr.?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Robert Nichols Jr. I live at 1110 Campbell Street, High Point, West End. I'm here to support my brothers. I used to be a fireman for 34 years. A lot was hit about staffing, but nothing was said when you got to have 3 men on a truck. NFPA accounts for 2 men in, 2 men out. So if something happens to those 2 guys that's inside, there's got to be somebody outside to get them. 3 can't do it because you got 1 who's driving the engine, which I was an apparatus operator. You're at that pump panel. The only time you move your truck is if you got to go, you're not first in the area of fire, then you're fighting fire. These guys work overtime. They may work a 24-hour shift today and then get called back tomorrow. You're putting them at risk by doing all this because, oh, we're at staffing. but yet you're not. Then I heard the chief say, well, the blame's back on these guys. If you're going to be a fire chief, take accountability. You are the chief. Anything happens to these guys, it's going to fall on his head. Then it's going to come to y'all because you have not listened to the grievances of these guys. It's important. Fire doubles in size every 30 seconds. So every second counts. Getting to the scene, getting the hose line stretched, and CPR. The man brought it up about that. 3-man crew. If you do CPR, that's a lot of pushing on somebody's chest. You will get tired. You have to have the personnel to swap out. I've been there. Like I said, I've done it. I've done it volunteer, and I've done it career. I'd still be on a truck right now, but I was put out with cancer. But I back my brothers and sisters of every fire department in the nation. If somebody says, hey, we got a problem, I pay city taxes, what's the problem? So I'd like to see this addressed. Somehow, hold people accountable. If the chief's not coming to you, find out why. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Crockett, how are you doing, sir? You'll come forward, state name and address for the record. Let us know the topic that you're speaking on.
Good evening. My name is Hassan Crockett, and greetings to Mayor Jefferson, council members, and to the community. I live at 1749 Chestnut Glen Way, and I am honored to introduce to you Sojourn Project 2, a mission-driven initiative rooted in community, compassion, and cross-cultural connection. Sojourn Project 2 was founded by Kimberly Crockett, and she is the managing director and myself. Sojourn Project 2 is an organization founded to build bridges across communities, generations, and even continents. At its core, it is a global social impact initiative committed to advancing equity and leadership through 4 pillars: education and research, community engagement, arts and culture, and international outreach. The name Sojourn means a temporary stay, but we believe that even a temporary journey can lead to lasting transformation. Our work is grounded in the belief that every person, no matter where they come from, has the capacity to lead, inspire, and create change. In the classroom, we design and deliver innovative curricula that spark critical thinking and civic responsibility. Through community engagement, we partner with grassroots organizations to amplify local voices and support inclusive development. Our work in the arts and cultural connections connect people through storytelling, heritage, and creative expression. And through international outreach, we collaborate with educators, change makers, and people around the world because we understand that leadership is both local and global. Our recent projects have included youth leadership workshops, intergenerational dialogue, cultural preservatives, and initiatives and cross-border collaborations that lift up unrepresented voices. But more than programs or partnerships, Sojourn Project 2 is a movement, a commitment to justice, dignity, and shared humanity. As we look ahead, our goal is to continue building spaces where dialogue leads to action, where every journey, whether of learning, healing, or advocacy, helps shape a more just and compassionate world. Thank you for taking a moment to journey with us. I invite you to learn more and connect with Sojourn with purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We don't have anyone else listed, but at this time, if there's anyone who wishes to speak for public comment period, you can still come forward. Dr. Harrison?
Good evening, Dr. Elma Harrison, High Point NAACP President. Greetings to Madam City Manager, Mayor, and City Council. I stand here before you tonight to advocate for the North Carolina Department of Transportation public engagement meeting that is going to be held at the High Point Library from 5 to 7 on Wednesday evening. Through it all, y'all, I don't know if you all heard or not, but High Point ranks number 10 in livability among cities of its size. 205 out of 250 cities. The All-American City, High Point, that is a major accomplishment based on comparing us to other cities our size. But High Point isn't a second-class city, and it deserves first-class rail service. But what has happened is some of those services have been canceled, although they added service for NASCAR and for the PGA. Much of the other services have been minimized. We stand here to advocate for increased service for all citizens of High Point. The NAACP, the City of High Point, League of Women Voters, Piedmont, the YWCA, and the presidents of the respective NAACPs in question, which are Salisbury, Burlington, and Kannapolis, did write a letter expressing our concern about minimizing the services to High Point. At this juncture, there is only one train that comes through High Point in the afternoon and again around the 8 p.m. hour. There is no service in the morning hours. And basically, the time parameters that were saved is about 12 minutes, minuscule time as far as that is saved. However, we are asking that the services be restored. We're asking that we have citizen participation in those decisions that are made. And again, through it all, High Point is a great city based on what others think about us, and we want to keep it that way as it relates to service of the rail system among all citizens of High Point. And I thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during public comment period?
I'm not as young as I used to be, 250 years. I'm Hal Roof. I live 200 Briarcliff Drive, Lexington. I'm an outsider, but I worked here 2 years, Myrtle Des. Furniture is a dangerous industry, and these guys are important. I'm here. Freedom is not free. I could read you a list that I did at City Council last week at Lexington of lives given for our freedom. I won the lottery. I was an NC State student and won the lottery. My classmate, teammate at Page High School, I grew up in Guilford County, went to Vietnam, December the 17th, 1967. He didn't make it. It makes me emotional. I almost broke in tears. I'm emotional now. I was nervous when I took the oath 54 years ago, and I'm nervous now. And to be here is the beauty of America. Thank y'all. Appreciate what y'all do. It's not an easy job, and like the guy says, we pray for you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during public comment period?
Good evening, Mayor Jefferson, City Councilmen and women. My name is Shay Johnson, and I am here representing the High Point NAACP chapter. I am the executive chair for our Young Professionals Committee, and I'm actually here to invite you all to our mixer this Friday. We're doing some amazing things with the High Point NAACP chapter. This will be a great opportunity to learn what those initiatives are, learn more about our mission, as well as help us increase our membership for this fiscal year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, is that event at Nomad? Yep, so 6 to 8 p.m. Nomad Friday. Britt, you qualify, I think, for that.
The young part.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else wish to speak during public comment period? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and close public comment period and thank everyone who showed up to speak. Later on in our agenda, we will have an opportunity to discuss the budget for the city of High Point, and that'll be an opportunity where council can have a little more discussion. So for those who are here for that, please feel free to hang around. Next item for discussion is our consent agenda. And upon review of those items, we'll ask if there's any discussion or questions from the dais for staff about our consent agenda. And if there is no discussion or there are no questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Holmes, seconded by Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and our consent agenda is approved. Under general business, item 2025-222, National Register nomination, High Point University, Roberts Hall. Council is requested to provide an opportunity for public comments and provide a recommendation to North Carolina National Register Advisory Committee, the HP Robert Hall, be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. With that, I'll pass it to the city's senior planner, Mr. David Fensel.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dave Fensel with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. We've got a request from our State Historic Preservation Office for the city to provide an opportunity for public comment, as well as for the City Council to make a recommendation on a National Register nomination for High Point University's signature building, Roberts Hall. Probably most of you are familiar with it. Here's just a brief description of the property. So this is the area that's proposed to be included in the National Register nomination. So you do see the flat lawn in front of the building. And we'll just provide a few photos of the facility for everybody to see. Here's an aerial image of the site. And here's some pictures of the different elevations of Roberts Hall. We'll close with just a few interior photos if you have not had been inside the building. And so tonight we are just asking for council to provide an opportunity for public comment, as well as make a recommendation. The Historic Preservation Commission has considered this item and recommended unanimously at their May 14th meeting, recommended approval. This will go to the North Carolina National Register Advisory Committee in about a week and a half for their formal decision, and they will incorporate any recommendations or comments that are provided to them from the City of High Point. Staff is also recommending a positive recommendation on this National Register request. And I'm happy to answer any questions council has.
Thank you, Mr. Fensel. At this time, are there any questions from council for staff on this item? Okay. I will note this is not a public hearing. However, it is an opportunity to receive public comment on this discussion. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak during this public comment period for this agenda item? If not, then I'll go ahead and close the public comment period on this and ask if there is a motion here for this approval for to provide the recommendation to the NC National Register Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Mayor Pro Tem Moore, seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Our next item under general business is 2025-219, consideration of funding for outside nonprofit organizations, FY 25 to 26. Council is requested to finalize recommendations for funding the outside nonprofit organization requests and authorize the appropriate city officials to execute all necessary documents. At this time, I'll look to our city attorney here. I know your team collected a number of recusals. Are you able to just provide an update so that way we can take it in a certain order here?
Yes, Mayor. If those with recusals want to just offer it so that the clerk can be sure to note it, I believe that based on the recommendations and what the vote is, we'll determine the exact ones that need to offer those. Is the budget director or anybody speaking about this or no?
Mayor, the items that are listed for approval of the agencies are listed as part of the agenda packet. So council has that list there, so if there are specific agencies that you may serve as a board member on, if you'll let staff know that you may need to recuse yourself, otherwise the item can move forward with one vote.
Mr. Mayor,
Council had a chance to look at this list.
Mr. Mayor, I have two conflicts, Friends of John Coltrane and Greater High Point Food Alliance.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
And I believe Councilmember Johnson for Macedonia.
Yes, I was actually pulling it up. Correct.
Do we make one motion to all the recusals at one time?
Yes. And then we'll have separate votes for the entire list and then for the ones that there are conflicts for.
Understood. So, Friends of John Coltrane.
Macedonia. Greater High Point Food Alliance.
Sorry, Councilmember Harmon, you said Friends of John Coltrane and you're in Greater High Point Food Alliance?
That's correct.
Okay. And then Councilmember Johnson, you said only Macedonia?
Macedonia. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? I'm going to recuse myself from High Point Schools Partnership.
Just a reminder, these are for boards that council members sit on the nonprofit board for.
And not for a liaison role,
Correct.
right?
These are not council member liaisons. These are only
For
if,
example, High Point Cav is here, but our liaison to that wouldn't need to.
that's right. That's right. This is a council member sitting as a governing board member for the nonprofit organization.
Okay. So we've only got 4 being pulled out, but 2 of them are for Councilmember Harmon, 1 for Councilmember Johnson on Macedonia, and then myself on High Point Schools Partnership. So first, I'll make a motion to accept the recusal for the 3 members on those respective organizations. Is there a second?
Second.
Second's been made by Councilmember Holmes on the offer for recusal. Any discussion on that?
Do I vote on this motion since I'm part of the motion?
No.
I do not.
Would you also like me not to make the motion then?
That's fine. The statute just requires that the clerk has it in the minutes. So the motion is to reflect who exactly is going to be recused for the minutes.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and those recusals have been accepted. At this time, we'll move to approve funding for outside nonprofit organizations. And this first group of approval does not have Friends of John Coltrane, Greater High Point Food Alliance, Macedonia, or High Point Schools Partnership in this vote. So I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve that. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion on that motion? Any questions about how that vote's happening? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and the outside nonprofit allocations for the listed organizations in the agenda outside of those 4 are approved. Next, we'll move to approve the outside nonprofit allocation funding for Friends of John Coltrane and Greater High Point Food Alliance. As a reminder, Councilmember Harmon is recused from this vote. Is there a motion to approve that funding?
So moved.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Holmes, seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next is to consider allocation of funding for Macedonia Family Resource Center. As a reminder, Councilmember Johnson is recused from this one. Is there a motion to approve? Motion is made by Mayor Pro Tem Moore, seconded by Councilmember Peters. Any discussion on this motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it. And I'll pass it over to Mayor Pro Tem Moore, since I'm recused from High Point Schools Partnership.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the outside agency funding for High Point Schools Partnership as listed in the nonprofit organization list. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
And for those listening, those recusals, again, most of them have to do with serving on boards. State legislation several years ago made it where if you are a volunteer board member serving on an organization, you cannot vote on any contract or any funding between that board and the government entity. So it's not any conflict of interest in terms of financial or anything of that nature. And High Point Schools Partnership, my wife works for organizations, so I've always recused from that. But no funding from High Point Schools Partnership here goes towards my wife's salary at all. It's really just a best practice for me. If anyone's got questions, you can always reach out to your council member. We'll be glad to discuss that. Next item is item 2025-231, consideration of the City of High Point's FY 2025-2026 annual budget. Council's request to consider the adoption. We've had several work sessions on this budget now. We've had a public hearing on this now. And at this time, council gets to have some good discussion to include those proposed changes to the fee schedule and authorize the appropriate city official to execute. Are there any questions from the dais or any comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Cook.
I just wanted to say on the record, because there was a little bit of, I think, crossed wires. I'm going to assume that that's all it was. But in the work session, the last work session, I did request that Finance consider using ARPA-enabled dollars to fund some of the requests that came in after the nonprofit allocation time period had ended, or the request time period had ended. And I was assured multiple times that it was going to be discussed during that Finance Committee hearing or meeting, and there was a comment made that it was going to be pushed further down the road. I worked with the organization and that made the request for the team, which was the eviction mediation program through UNCG, to clarify some of the timeline issues that will affect High Point and our ability to advocate for our citizens through that program. And at this point, Guilford County has not included any funding for this project in their fiscal year budget. And the ARPA dollars that were being used to help High Point have 2 days of liaison work will end at the end of 2025. It is my understanding that because we have until the end of the year, there's still an opportunity to go back and put this funding through so that our citizens can have representation in the mediation process. I would have liked, if I had had more time, I would have worked hard to advocate for the full request, which would help supply the legal aid that's necessary for those citizens, and also the similar work to what Greensboro has been doing with doing the rental assistance payments. Unfortunately, there just wasn't time to put all of that work through. I'm very concerned, as I think many people are, and I'm concerned that there is not more of an outcry from the public. Last year, when we were talking about raising the taxes, we got emails daily. We had people lined up at the podium to speak. And the fact that with the national and state news, what could be happening with HUD funding and the number of people that will be affected with the loss of Section 8 vouchers, people not being moved up out of the wait list due to the executive orders, with the obvious agenda at the state level to discriminate against people who are unhoused. We are responsible for our citizens. And it is not up to Guilford County to work for them. They cover a wider range than just High Point. And it's nice when we can stack funding. When we have HUD, we have the county, we have the state, and High Point, we can do more. But when they start to pull back, we have to double down. And there are things in this budget that I don't agree with. I don't think that we should be paying for mixers for the business community in downtown while not paying for representation for our most vulnerable citizens. And I'm gonna be honest about that. I wanna see a downtown thriving, but I wanna see people who don't have a chance right now thriving too. And so if I would have made these comments on Thursday, they probably would have been a lot more heated. And right now I just feel a little sad because I want to see High Point stepping up and responding to things that aren't fun to talk about and don't have easy solutions. But if we can do something, we should. And this was an opportunity that's being missed. And I hope that we'll do the right thing by the end of the year. I trust and believe that those conversations will not stop here, but going into the end of this process without that guarantee, I don't feel comfortable, and I just wanted to make sure that my thoughts were on the record about this. And for the people who reached out to me to work on this, I hope you know that I did do as much as I could in a short amount of time. And I hope that I have learned from this experience so that going into the next budget cycle, I will be ahead of the game and get my issues on the table on behalf of the citizens that don't have a bus to get here after 6 p.m., that are facing eviction as a means of collection for those organizations and businesses that they are renting from, and that we will have proper representation for people who need it in the future, and that we can correct some of the things that have gotten us to this point where we are. Thank you.
Councilmember Cook, thank you for your comments on that item. Is there any discussion on that before we leave it?
Yeah, I'd like to reply. Councilwoman Cook, thank you for your comments and your big heart and advocacy for those that face the challenges. Budgets are always challenging, and we did talk about in our finance meeting, and it's on the record, and we spoke to the reasons why we were waiting. But I think there are some things in this budget that you had advocated for that are in it as well. And, I think everyone on this council and in this audience shares a compassion and a desire to try to give a hand up when it's needed. And certainly with not unlimited resources, we try to do the best that we can to make the tides rise for everybody. And we did state that we thought it would be prudent to look at, we are the first out of the gate in this area to have our budget go out, and the way our systems are set up, we do have some cross-pollination in some of the distribution of funds that we are asked to shepherd over. And we have no intent of missing the deadlines or not trying to address this quickly after this budget is resolved and we see where the others land, and the need will be there, and we will do what we can to address that as a finance committee and bring it back to the full attention of all council members. But while we're being open and public on the record, for some thought and philosophical comments, last 4 or 5 years hadn't been any fun for any of us. We've got, from a financial perspective, budgets are tighter, supply chains are challenging, where we lost control of them over the last 40 years. Inflation has been running extremely high. And yet somehow during all of that, together, we have managed a city that's continuing to grow, which means our expenses and our budget will grow. We continue to fight challenges in the personnel area of even when there is enough money, certain slots don't get filled. I don't know what's happened to the workforce. I can't explain it. But I think overall, we have done a pretty good job. Actually, we've done a very good job. Is there areas to improve? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I've got a bunch of personal ones of them myself. But I appreciate the discussion, and I appreciate the ability to go back and forth to try to find best practices and the financial resources that it takes to continue to have a great and livable city. So I hope during these discussions that people understand this is a budget. That doesn't mean once it's passed or when it's passed or if it passes unanimously or 5-4 that everything's in stone. I sit on the finance committee for several years, and year after year we get more budget amendment requests because of the changes in the economic environment in which we find ourselves. The reality of it is we got to continue to grow this city to keep up with the infrastructure and the personnel that we currently have, and upgrade from an infrastructure standpoint some things that weren't necessarily looked after. And then we have to have a rainy day fund for the big things that may come up, like a dam. Just happens to be coming in our lifetime. So there's a whole lot that goes into it, and our income is what it is. But just wanted to share those thoughts. These budgets are very challenging. And behind every one of those numbers is a human or a human need or a human want. And we have to deal with it and try to set it on the best course that we can to make the outcomes better, than we find ourselves in. So it's always a challenging time, not a lot of fun, but it's one of the more important things we do. And we have kept our bond ratings well. We've managed our debt well. There's practices and things within government that I don't think government should be involved with. But I can't change that. I have to play by the rules that are set and work within those to make the best outcome that we can. So I appreciate everybody's input. I love this city. I love the people of this city. And it's a great, great place to be and a great place to raise your family. And there's a hell of a lot of places worse off to be than in High Point.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the dais?
Just one, two quick points, Mr. Mayor. Budget priorities are, as Mayor Pro Tem put, are very difficult sometimes. We are tasked as a council to balance the improving quality of life that we want to offer as a city versus how we accomplish that, which is being good stewards of tax dollars. All of you are responsible for contributing to the ability for us to be able to grow this city, to make it the best possible place to live, work and play, raise a family. And so for us to be able to provide all of our citizens with the level of service that we want High Point to be well known for, we have to balance that. And that means the infrastructure, not just the physical infrastructure that we have in our pipes and our bridges and our roads, but also the infrastructure of people. And that means we have to have the best people. But when you have the best people, people want the best people. And so while we are every day trying to make sure that we maintain the highest level of service by having the best people, we also know that we're competing to maintain those people with every other sector in our economy. And so what happens is when we have to address the salaries and the benefits and things that keep you on the job, That also means we have to balance that versus the burden of taxes that gives us the ability to do that. And so these are never simple. There's never one lever that you pull that's going to open the door. There's no magic bullet that we have that can solve all the problems. This is a very complicated algorithm that we have to navigate to be able to do what we do on behalf of the city. And you all are the biggest part of that. But we don't take this lightly. And so as budgets go, we go through these budgets as deftly as we possibly can to make sure that we craft a budget with every single corner of our city in mind. Every single person that lives in our city, every single person who makes up the population of High Point. All of you are considered in these budgets. And so I thank you all for being here, showing your passion, the service that you all provide to the city. And we hope that you guys understand that the efforts that we take to build these budgets, to build the priorities of this city, are not cavalier in our way of approach. And so we just want to make sure, I wanted to state that these are the priorities that we face in this budget. And they may change next year, and they may change the year after that. But as a council, we have to address the priorities of the time. And so that's why we're here. That's why we serve alongside you to make sure that every voice and every single person in every corner of High Point is represented, not just in our citizens, but also in those who invest in our city in business, and those who serve our city in public service. All of that is reflected in our budgets, and we take that task very seriously.
Councilmember Holmes, thank you so much. Any other discussion from the dais on the budget?
I have one.
Councilmember Andrew?
So wise men said that there's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs. And while this budget is challenging, in my other job as a system safety engineer, studying for this certified safety professional exam, I am concerned about what I've heard from our firefighters. And while this budget may pass, we do have flexibility to make adjustments as we move forward. So I will look into the information we've been given, and if adjustments need to be made, then I will advocate for those. Thank you.
Councilmember Andrew, I actually want to stay there for a second, and I know there's other folks with other questions and comments. I just want to stay here for a second because this is a very important discussion. And I wrote down some of the quotes that we heard earlier. Firefighters are not expendable, and that was a very pointed comment. I would hope that none of our folks who are fighting for the safety of our people every single day feel that anyone who was elected to serve feels that firefighters are expendable. But I also recognize that when there's distance between what we do and what you all do, it can certainly has the opportunity to seem that way. It's been an interesting conversation that we've been having, and I wrote down what you wrote, Robert. I think you said 3 requests: full funding for staff and training, adherence of NFPA standards, and end to bad practices. But you're hoping for some level of an investigation into this to see what's going on.
May I speak on this, or is this?
No. I appreciate what you shared. I think what's on my mind, and Madam Manager, I'll just tell you, because it's pinging in my head and I can't stop asking myself this question, which is in terms of some of what we're navigating, and Mayor Pro Tem Moore talked about staffing shortages in a number of other places. I would love to know how we compare to others around the state. And I wish we had all the knowledge right now to answer that. The good news is that I feel that if we ask our staff to prepare some information that helps us truly understand how our staffing shortages compare here in High Point to cities not just in this region, but comparable sized cities around the state, how we compare. I would also like to hear not only about the staffing shortages, but also a comparison of how we're doing in terms of training
one thing I've always been proud about here in our city is that we maintain, and it's a credit to you all, the highest rating in terms of fire protection and safety. And what that means is not just if a fire breaks out that you can feel confident that someone's going to come rescue you, but that also impacts your home insurance that you pay. Because the folks who put and underwrite insurance on houses want to know, do you have a great fire department? How far do you live from a fire department? If you live so many minutes away and it takes them longer to get there, then it increases the chances that when that fire starts, I wrote this down too, fire doubles in size every 30 seconds. They're worried about if they underwrite a property and it has a chance of going up in flames because no one was there. I mean, it's critically important. I think everyone on this dais knows it. So I think what we're wanting to get an understanding about, and it's really thinking about what we heard tonight, well, it's just a fiduciary responsibility that I think we have as elected officials here, stewards of the public trust, to make sure that we are monitoring it. I've got the utmost confidence in our staff, our city manager, who she hires and who they hire on down the chain, but I also recognize that there's value in us taking better looks. The great President Ronald Reagan, Britt, I'm surprised you didn't quote this, since I know you love Ronald Reagan, said, "Trust but verify." And I think there's an opportunity here, y'all, to see how we compare to some others. And then if we get the confidence in terms of how we compare, I know we did a market study, Madam Manager, if I'm not mistaken, last year for salaries, and we were able to raise salaries commensurate with that. The issue with market studies is that the moment you do a market study, it is out of date. And so we did a market study on previous salaries, we bumped it up to that, but then everyone else bumped up again, and now we're looking at no longer being in that competitive range. So in some ways, I know our consultants have a regular cadence of looking at salaries, but I'm very curious where we stand in terms of staffing with shortages, in terms of training, on the issue of NFPA standards. I don't know how you quantify the comment about bad practices of moving trucks here or there. That I don't know. But would love to know where we stand in comparison to some of these other pieces. My hope is that we can get this information back soon. For everyone listening, it is a very important fact to know that in the state of North Carolina, although your North Carolina legislators in Raleigh have the right to belabor and delay the passing of a budget as long as they want to, they have made laws that do not allow cities or counties to do that. You do not have the right to do that. It's not even, and we just can't even say we've got good, you cannot do that, which means by June 30th, this city has to have a budget. And the unfortunate thing about that is that in the city of 118,000 people, we are thinking about ensuring that it operates and runs. The truth is, there is no way we'd have any level of an analysis, investigation, or anything done for us to make decisions that would have that incorporated into it by June 30th. But what I can promise you, and you already heard Councilman Andrew talk about it, I think I speak for everyone up here, whatever information we get back, we will do something with. We won't sit on it. We care very deeply about ensuring that everyone who chooses to call High Point home knows that the people who represent High Point are doing our very best to love and protect and build the best city that we can. And so it may not be all of what you wanted, because I know some folks want us not to vote. But again, I have to look at this pragmatically. We have to approve the budget. But trust us to do the work. Let the record reflect that I'm asking. And if we need to make that an official vote, we can suspend the rules. But I don't know that we need an official vote for us to get this information. Madam Manager, I want to pass over to you. Is this something that we think we can get information back on in terms of those pieces?
Absolutely. I think it's also important to point out that the city of High Point has traditionally operated with 3 staff members on a truck. That is something that has been the practice of this city. So it's not as if we were riding with 4 on a truck and then we had staffing issues and then went to 3. So I think there's a conversation that the council will have to have at some point in the future in terms of philosophically, are we at a point as an organization where we're ready to change that practice? We did start to look at some of the staffing concerns that were in the department. The chief brought that up as a concern. And in October of 2024, we did start the process of looking at how we can do some overhires and bring some additional staffing on, which was shared with the board at the time. But we'll continue to look at the concerns that were brought forward and do the analysis that the board has requested.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the dais or any comments based on that discussion there?
I want to do an add-on, if I may. It's stated, and it's true, that no firefighter is expendable. These gentlemen in blue and ladies in blue are the same way. But you know, at 62, I've come to find out, with more water behind me than in front of me, we just went through a period of time where it was deemed necessary on a national level to say who non-essential workers were versus essential workers. And I would submit to you that there's not a soul in this room that's not an essential worker. We all do different things, but the person that, you know, oversees our budget department, their wife and kids probably think he's pretty essential. I happen to agree with them. And I happen to agree that every one of you sitting out here is essential to your part and your role in the bigger part. So just wanted to tie that in and say that I agree with Councilman Holmes and our mayor, and Councilman Andrew, and I'm sure the others too. But I'll look every one of you in the eye, and any of you that know me. You can call me, you can contact me, you can argue with me, you can tell me what I did wrong. But we're not going to make it better unless we work on it together, and I heard that's what you say you want to do. So look forward to that. Appreciate Chief, Police, appreciate all that you do. And I want to say thanks to the staff. I don't think anybody really knows unless you have the opportunity to serve on this side and deal with them on a day-to-day basis and a weekend basis and a Sunday basis. The burden they carry on their shoulders is pretty big, and it's a challenging task that they asked for, trained for, signed up for. But I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the staff for what they do and for willing to have tough discussions, to admit when we're wrong, and to keep this city moving forward. And there's a lot of cities around us. You guys travel, I'm sure. Drive around some cities and get off the beaten highway when you go somewhere one time. You're going to the beach, get off 74 and cut down through Canada and Norman and some of these other places that literally got bypassed. So we have great opportunity in High Point to keep growing. We're geographically set in a great place. We got some of the most generous, philanthropic, inventive, creative people, and I look forward to a bright future together.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have a few comments. I want to thank the firefighters for talking to us tonight and highlighting some of the things you're concerned about. I really appreciate y'all doing that. It's not easy standing up there because I've been on the other side. So, I want to bring up, I guess, reiterate what Councilman Moore was talking about, because budget is a working document, so it's not set in stone what we're going to hopefully pass tonight. It can be adjusted and readjusted as the year goes along. And cities aren't immune to inflation just like anybody else. I mean, the cost of the dam to be had is a lot more expensive than it was a few years ago. So inflation impacts us as well. And then to follow up on Councilmember Cook about eviction and housing insecurity and that sort of thing, I think we have, as a council, an opportunity with the Community Development and Housing 5-year HUD plan that's going to be coming before us to really dig into that and maybe think about doing some things differently with that pot of money. And there's also the housing study, so there's some policy things we can do as a city moving forward around housing. So looking forward to those discussions.
Councilmember Harmon, thank you. Any other discussion?
On the budget in general or about the,
If you want to speak specifically about the topic regarding firefighters, you can do that now, but if you also want to talk about anything else, you can do that as well.
okay. Well, so I have some comments on the budget. There's been an organization that has partnered with the city and has helped the city get over $50 million worth of grant money. And so it's called the Southwest Renewal Foundation. In 2021, they got $19.8 million RAISE grant, a $7.3 million FEMA BRIC grant, and then most recently, an EPA Community Change Grant for $18.5 million. So in our presentation that we got on May 5th, there was no item budgeted for Southwest Renewal Foundation, but we give them normally $50,000. So also, I don't know if anybody's heard, but all the community change grants were terminated. So now that executive director is really having to work super hard with our staff to get that $18.5 million, which $5.1 million of that is for our oldest sewer lines in the city of High Point. So I would like to make a motion to, and I talked to several people, and I talked to several council people, that if I make a motion to put $50,000 in our budget for the Southwest Renewal Foundation to help us with all these grants. So that's my motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to put $50,000 into the budget for Southwest Renewal Foundation. And just to kind of get our bearings around this, Madam Manager, in terms of how this spits out, the 50,000 would be in general fund?
It would be a general fund appropriation if the council would choose to put that back in.
Okay. So 50,000 for Southwest Renewal Foundation from the general fund. Is there any discussion on this motion or any questions from the dais regarding this motion from Councilman Peters?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilwoman Peters, I know that there was some discussion of the Southwest Renewal Foundation and the ARPA-enabled funds. If you're requesting that this be put in the budget, does that also, are you still also seeking ARPA-enabled funds for
No.
Southwest? Okay.
Any other discussion?
No, I'd just like to add that we had this discussion on, as I said, this was part of what Ms. Cook brought up, Councilwoman Cook. There were three things in that: the High Point Schools Partnership, Southwest Renewal Foundation, and Team. And this all stems out, again, of about the same time we were all told that there were non-essential workers and essential workers. Then a bunch of money started falling down to us, and we ended up with $22 million with all kinds of strings attached to it, with which there were, I can't remember the number, 50 or $100 million in ask for it. So I just, again, I commented about our staff and the people that prepare our budget and work day in and day out on this type of thing. I think sticking with their recommendation as it is fine. We've talked over and over again about budget amendments and things that are changing, and we're living in a time right now where things are changing on a dime. And I just think that adding this will tend and lead to other entities sitting and looking and thinking, well, they got it, I didn't. I'm not in favor of that at this time. We have, and we continue to work with a great organization called the Southwest Renewal Foundation that has done yeoman's work for our community and reaped benefits. And I'm certain this staff and this council will make every effort when grant opportunities come and initiatives come from that organization that benefit the citizens of High Point, that they will be welcomed here for discussion and partnership on ideas and initiatives they want to approach.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore, thank you. I'll speak to this issue just briefly. 50,000 for Southwest Renewal Foundation, very different, you could argue, than what you normally get in an outside agency request. Is, I would say, the work of Southwest Renewal Foundation, mostly because their work is generally tended to be so place-based, and it's investing in infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, parks. I mean, it's all stuff that the city owns and runs. And so in many ways, they do the kind of funding, attraction, grant writing that leads to investing in the city's assets itself, which if we had let me just sort of do some math here. If we had a head count in the city in terms of an employee who we pay $50,000 a year to write grants, and they were getting the kind of returns that Southwest Renewal Foundation was getting, we'd say the ROI on that was really impressive. Yeah. And that's kind of how I see it. I agree, Mayor Pro Tem, that there will be people who ask, but I'm very transparent when I chat with people, when I say that we are in the business of ensuring that this government is here for another 166 years, and it's got to be strong for our children, our grandchildren, their children, and their children, so on and so forth. We got to build this dam that's going to last another 100+ years. We got to do a bunch of things, and the people who are, you know, it's a very competitive pot of funding in D.C. or in Raleigh or wherever it may be, a lot of nonprofit foundations who give us funding too. They are very, very successful at going and getting funding that would go somewhere else to come in here. And if 50,000 was a head count to do that, I think all our budget analyst folks would, I mean, not saying you do this, Stephen, but you look at the ROI in that position, you'd be like, that's actually pretty impressive. So that's where I am on it. I would never want anyone to think that we favor one nonprofit over another one. But I think as a way to invest in them, continuing to bring funding that goes back into the city's coffers, I think 50,000 is worth it. That's just where I stand on it. There's been a motion, second, and some discussion. Any more discussion on this item?
Clarification, so we intend to not use the remaining ARPA funds on this?
No, not ARPA funds. This would be general fund. So general fund allocation.
Very good.
Sorry.
That's all.
Well, I just had a question. This was previously a line item in the budget, and it was removed from the budget in this cycle, correct?
Correct. And unfortunately, I wasn't aware of it until the presentation was public, or I probably would have had discussions, you know, with staff prior to that. So it was just a very unfortunate situation. And then to kind of put salt on the wound when we found out that very same night that we lost or that we could lose the 18.5, this is why it's really super important. And so the timing is very important, and that's why I've really asked for council support on this. And
All right, I just had one more question. The $50,000 is used for very specific things, if I remember correctly, that it's not just a check written to Southwest for $50,000, but actually when they win grants, that we provide the monetary value for the signage or things that might need to be implemented as a result of the progress that they make in that grant.
It can depend. There's a contractual relationship that we have with the Southwest Renewal Foundation. The funds can be used for matches associated with grants. It can be used to help write or prepare grants. At the time the budget was prepared, we did have our community change grant that had been awarded, and there was a little over $2 million that was included in that grant that was going to the Southwest Renewal Foundation. Again, the night the budget had been finalized, and then we found out that night that grant had been suspended. So there was some operating money that was included in that original community change grant.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to add that every grant dollar won is not a tax dollar spent.
Councilmember Peters made a motion to approve a $50,000 allocation to go into the budget, but in many cases, approving the budget that includes that $50,000 allocation would really do the same thing. But at this point, just so I get my Robert's rules here, if we just approve what she motioned and was seconded, that doesn't make anything else hairy in terms of any of these discussions, does it?
No, because she made just a motion to add it to the budget. So then the next step would be to, if somebody wants to make a motion to the budget as amended, because there's a change that's now been made to what was presented in the agenda item.
She made
A motion just to add it only.
got you. Okay. All right, we can do this, y'all. Okay, so there's a motion, there's a second. Any further discussion?
I mean, if you wish to do a substitute motion, it would,
Substitute motion to
Or we can just do-
approve our budget with the $50,000 allocation.
or you can just have two motions. Either way works, whatever you prefer.
I'm going to make a substitute motion to approve the budget as is with the $50,000 allocation in there for Southwest Renewal Foundation. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and our budget passes. All right, next item is item 2025-232, consideration of FY 25-26 annual budget ordinance for Forward High Point, doing business as Downtown High Point. Are there any recusals needed for this vote?
Mr. Mayor, I'm on the board of Downtown High Point.
Okay. Thank you for your public service, by the way. I'm going to make a motion to accept the recusal of Councilmember Harmon on this. Is there a second?
Second.
Second to Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it. That recusal is accepted. Now to item 2025-232. I'll make a motion to approve this annual budget ordinance for Forward High Point. Is there a second?
Second.
Second to Councilmember Holmes. Any discussion on the motion to approve funding to Downtown High Point? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against?
No.
Let the noes be shown. The ayes have it, and that motion passes. This next item is for the Market Authority, and here's where I have to offer my own recusal. Is there a motion to accept my recusal on this item?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Second.
Motion, no, you're early as motion to Councilmember Holmes, second to
Councilwoman Peters.
Councilwoman Peters. Any discussion on the motion for recusal? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve item 2025-233, consideration for the High Point International Home Furnishing Market Authority Corporation budget.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you. Next and final item for consideration is consideration of the High Point Convention Visitors Bureau does businesses visit High Point for their budget. Is there a recusal needed for this item?
Yes, I need to recuse.
Okay, I make a motion to approve recusal for Councilmember Peters. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Holmes. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving her recusal signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it. The recusal is accepted. At this time, I'll make a motion to approve the budget for Visit High Point. Is there a second? Second from Councilmember Cook. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Prior to adjourning, I'll ask if there are any announcements from the dais.
Mr. Mayor, I have two. This Thursday at 5:30, our state senator, Michael Garrett, is hosting a town hall at Macedonia Family Resource Center at 5:30 p.m. So if anybody has anything that they would like to share with him or hear from him, I would encourage you to attend. And then Monday night in Greensboro at Mount Zion Baptist Church, there is a town hall with our entire Guilford County delegation has been invited. I don't know what the RSVPs are, but that's at 6 p.m. at Mount Zion in Greensboro.
Thank you, Councilmember Cook. And while you're discussing announcements for legislative town halls, I'll note that we're hosting the legislative town hall here, where the Guilford County delegation, those folks who represent us in Raleigh, will be right here at City Hall on Monday, June 16th at 6 p.m. It just so happens that that is the third Monday. We will not have our council meeting on that evening. We will have a council meeting instead on the fourth Monday. Regular meetings to start at 5:30 p.m. That is Monday, June 23rd. So if you're checking your calendar, Monday, June 23rd is when we'll have our next city council meeting. But if you show up on June 16th, you'll be able to be here for a town hall and hear all the riveting news out of Raleigh. Any other announcements?
Yes, Mayor. In the midst of all the things going on in the celebration, I'm a lifetime member of the Benevolent Order of the Elks, and Flag Day is June 14th. Very important and patriotic event in our history. So I encourage you to remember that and take a look at the fascinating history and count the blessings we have for this great country we have.
Thank you. Any other announcements from the dais?
Mr. Mayor, I have a few. I'm going to remember this time, Mr. Mayor. So June 10th, 4 to 6 p.m., the grand opening of the bridge project. It's 1104 East Green. It's the old Smith Law Building. The mayor will be speaking, so if you want to hear him speak again. If you really want to hear some interesting music, I'm playing at the Farmers Market this Saturday at about 10. And then on the Flag Day, they're having a ceremony at the Farmers Market at 10 a.m. on the 14th. So you can get your flag, and I'll be saying a few words about that.
Thank you, Councilmember Harmon. Any other announcements?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In between all those dates, we will be celebrating the Juneteenth holiday. There are a lot of events that are happening the weekend of Juneteenth. Please come out and enjoy. We have things at Festival Park, Ocala Festival Park, R&B Soul Picnic, a lot of great events that are happening during that weekend.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Andrew. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? The ayes have it, and we are adjourned.